I'm all decked out in my Calgary Stampeders gear here, as I actually got some off-season news here that I feel is significant enough to share with you guys. As I got a trade to talk about and a couple of potential NFL signings that we don't know yet, but one thing we know for sure, and also I do have some more coaching updates too. So yeah, here we are just after New Year's here, and interestingly, as of this recording, I already made all four Calgary teams have actually made a trade in the last couple days here. I already made my video where I talked about the Michael Furley trade for the Calgary Flames, as I felt that was big enough. It was an asset that we were shopping around, and also there was other trade activity that happened that day that kind of tied in with the trade. The Hitmen also made a trade. I'll talk about that trade in the next episode of my Calgary Hitmen in 6. The Stampeders made a trade, and the Roughnecks actually made a trade, but I'll talk about the Roughnecks trade in the next episode of my Calgary Roughnecks this month. But now, on with the Calgary Stampeders, and one asset that we figured was not going to be coming back was quarterback Nick Arbuckle, as this definitely confirms that Nick Arbuckle is not coming back to the Calgary Stampeders next year, as the Calgary Stampeders traded him to the Ottawa RedBlacks. At least his contractual rights, so now the Ottawa RedBlacks, they got about 5 weeks to talk to him and convince him that Ottawa is the place. I mean, there was speculation. I made a video where I talked about the coaching carousel, about all the head coaches that were changes, because almost literally half the league changed coaches. I think the two teams right now in the CFL that I think is uncertain who their number one quarterback is, both in Ontario, the Ottawa RedBlacks being one and the Toronto Argonauts being the other there. And there was increased speculation that possibly, I mean, this could still change where Nick Arbuckle ultimately goes. But when the Toronto Argonauts hired Ryan Dinwiddie to be their head coach, there was some speculation that maybe Nick Arbuckle would follow him to Toronto with the relationship that he built here in Calgary, as he was the quarterback's coach. And but he is going to Ottawa, and Ottawa is definitely needing a new quarterback here, as things did not work with Dominique Davis after he took over for Jonathan Jennings there. Ottawa definitely was going to regress, because they got decimated in free agency, including losing Tre Roberson, Greg Ellison to the end of Eskimos here. But Nick Arbuckle, if you definitely recall this past season here, he did an admirable job filling in for Bo Levi Mitchell when he got injured there, starting with that crazy comeback there. But he actually played in the first half of the season there. But if I recall right, his record as a starter, he was actually 5-4 there, including losing last two games that he started were two close, tough losses there. So Nick Arbuckle definitely, he won his 5 games as the backup quarterback, and was rallied in that crazy comeback there against the BC Lions early in the season, where if you look back at that game, if Boating had hurt, we might have lost that game. But so definitely Nick Arbuckle raised his stock, and he wanted to be a starter, and those are, I think, the best opportunities in the CFL there. So coming the Calgary Stampeders' way, for likely an asset we were not going to keep, because he wanted to be a starter, is at least a third-round 2020 Canadian College draft pick, and a conditional pick. Obviously, the condition is if Nick Arbuckle actually signs with the Ottawa RedBlacks there. And, Ottawa's also been making a change, as they hired Paul Police as their new head coach, and definitely has no offensive minded there. He was the offensive coordinator, most recently with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, where they eventually went on to win the Grey Cup. So yeah, Nick Arbuckle definitely has an opportunity here to look over some numbers here that he produced while he was a Calgary Stampeder. Just this past season here, he was 174 for 278. Yeah, 174 completions on 238 attempts there. for 2,103 yards. He threw for 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions there for the completion percentage of 73.1% there. And his average per game was 150.2. So his yardage wasn't as high as Bo's, because he's always good for getting 300-yard games here. Although his quarterback rating, actually Nick Arbuckle was starter in 3 games where he had over 300 yards. His rating was 106.5 there, so that's pretty good considering he was backup for much of this time to Bo Levi Mitchell, and definitely his stock rose. And best of luck to you, Nick. Always when you don't play us, but we'll see how things pan out, not only with Nick Arbuckle and the fact that he has an opportunity to be a starter in the CFL there. And actually, I was planning on originally doing a video where I was going to recap how everything went in free agency here, but these news felt like warranted its own video there. So yeah, so Nick Arbuckle, at least his contractual rights are going to the Ottawa RedBlacks there, so we'll see how that plays out. So now on our side here, obviously we still have Bo Levi Mitchell, and minus the bad game that he had in the West semifinal, which, speaking of Nick Arbuckle, many fans felt that Nick Arbuckle should have came in and see if that could have changed the game there, but that didn't happen. That's hindsight 2020. But yeah, so we'll see how Nick Arbuckle does as a starter. But coming back here, I say Bo Levi Mitchell, he's still under contract for 3 more years, and he's been the winningest quarterback up to this point in CFL history here, and he's definitely putting himself up there with Doug Flutie and Jeff Garcia and Pete Lisk, Henry Burris, Jerry Keeling as one of the best quarterbacks to ever play for the Calgary Stampeders here. However, now I'm going to have to say we should be looking for maybe another quarterback that's a proven veteran to back up Bo Levi Mitchell, just in case, he gets hurt or has an odd bad game there, because the other guy we have is Montel Cozart, and he's just been on the practice roster, or 3rd stringer, the whole time since he's been here for the last couple of years. And I don't know, as a fan, I don't even know enough about Montel Cozart there. I mean, he had a few flashes in preseason, but that's not the same as regular season. The one quarterback I still would like to see Calgary consider signing in free agency is actually Jonathon Jennings. I actually would like to see Jonathon Jennings come here if he's available. I mean, he was in Ottawa there. I mean, he definitely had a few flashes in hand, starting with the BC Lions there, and 2016 was his best season as a starter, as he threw over almost 5,000 yards there, but we destroyed BC in the Western final there. But he definitely lost his starting job to the Dominic Davis in Ottawa there. So it's definitely, I would like to see Jonathon Jennings here in Calgary, because he's definitely a scrambling quarterback here. I think maybe potentially, I mean, that's who I would like to go after in free agency, as well as a running back. Obviously we need that, but talk about different things in this video. That I think Jonathon Jennings would be kind of like, the same thing that Winnipeg had with Zach Claros and Chris Streveler here, that Bo will be our starter, but actually throwing Jonathon Jennings on short yardage play, and that's who Nick Arbuckle definitely excelled at, as well as the short yardage guy for Calgary. So it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. So now a couple other pieces that are big pieces that we don't know their futures yet, but they are pursuing opportunities south of the border here, and we will definitely wish them the best. I'm talking about receiver Reggie Begelton and defensive secondary corner Tre Roberson here, as Reggie Begelton is a free agent coming in this season. Mind you, 90% of the league seems to be free agents here, but Reggie Begelton has definitely been trying out in the NFL there, and I did see a tweet out there that apparently Reggie Begelton might be down to the Green Bay Packers and the New Orleans Saints there. So we'll see how that pans out. Hopefully it's either he's in the NFL or with us here. And in the Calgary Stampeders, I think Tre Roberson was still under contract, and I think it was a 2-year deal he actually signed, but the Stampeders didn't have to, but they released him the other day there so he can try out and pursue potentially NFL opportunities there, and hopefully things will work out. They'll come back to the CFL with Calgary there, but I mean, Reggie Begelton, he was third in the league in receiving with over 1,400 yards there, and Tre Roberson, he had over 7 interceptions for the Calgary Stampeders there, including having like 5 there in the first 2 games there, but he definitely kept opposition quarterbacks on notice there. So yeah, those are the 2 big free agents or other stars that we have that might not be back and could be trying their luck in the NFL. So I wish both Reggie and Tre the best here, but you're definitely welcome back here in Calgary if things don't work out there. And then I actually got some coaching news here, as actually Calgary has lost a few coaches here. I mean, we decided to not move on from Pete Costanza there, as Pete Costanza, the receivers coach, was ready to. I think it was with the coaching cap there. Not quite sure how that exactly works here, but Calgary and him decided to part ways there. So we definitely don't have a receivers coach anymore, which then eventually Pat DeMonico is going to take over that role as the offensive coordinator, because Ryan Dinwiddie decided to take the head coaching job with Toronto there. So Pat DeMonico, who was originally was just the offensive linemakers coach, is going to be in charge of the offense here. But there's one more coach here that's decided to take another job here, as last year we had J.C. Sherritt, who retired from the Edmonton Eskimos there, and then came with us last year as the linebackers coach. Well, J.C. Sherritt has left the team as he's named the co-special teams coordinator at Cal Poly State University here. So Calgary is definitely not going to have 3 guys back with the coaching staff next year, as we decided to part ways with 1 guy, and 2 guys took different jobs. Obviously, it would have been more lucrative for their end. That's why they left here. But so wish J.C. Sherritt the best, and then now he's carving his way as a coach in football here. But there's no speculation on who was going to come in here, and as I say, it would definitely be nice if maybe we have a spot for Don Claybrooks, because as you know, he was let go from his 1 year as head coach of the BC Lions there, and however, we already had Brent Monson, who took over as defensive coordinator, as he was the linebackers coach there, and Josh Bell still is the secondary coach there, and I also like still having him here for dancing, his dance moves too, and sometimes it's fun to watch him dance and warm up there. But yeah, those are definitely the big news stories here, starting with the Nick Arbuckle trade to the Ottawa RedBlacks. So the Ottawa RedBlacks have 5 weeks to convince him to sign with the Ottawa RedBlacks, so at least we got a 3rd round pick out of it in this upcoming Canadian College draft there, and Reggie Begelton and Tre Roberson are pursuing NFL opportunities, and as a J.C. Sherritt off to Cal College there, or Cal University there. So those are just, some big enough Calgary Stampeders off-season news that I figure that warrants its own video here. But my plan here is that next month after free agency here. However, there seems to be a little less excitement with free agency compared to last year. But last year, I mean, we were wondering if was Bo going to go to the NFL, or then I had that feeling that he was going to stay, and he ultimately stayed. But apparently he took less money to stay with Calgary than go to Toronto there, and then we had Mike Riley go back to BC, and Trevor Harris going to Edmonton there from Ottawa. So there were some big names that a couple of the big names changed teams while we managed to keep Bo. And but I'll still do a recap after free agency, as Calgary slowly has been re-signing a lot of our own players. I mean, the other 2 guys that aren't coming back, due to retirement was where we knew Brian Smith before the end of the 2019 season said he was going to retire, and then Rob Maver, the punter, which I mentioned that in the coaching carousel video that I made right after the Grey Cup, that Rob Maver also decided to retire there. So I think that title now goes to Rene Paredes for the longest serving Stampeder now, and haven't heard anything else yet, but I mean, usually John Huffnagel, the general manager, Huff we trust here, is he usually, when it comes to free agency, he usually one by one signs a lot of our internal guys here, and obviously signed a lot of our imports, but I'll recap everything when the free agency opens here and any players we have. But I think we definitely need to look at adding a running back, because I don't think Don Jackson, he's a free agent, and so looking at free agency, but I think we're going to move on from him, and who knows with Romar Morris, and we did actually re-sign Ante Milinovic Leader, one of the guys here, but I think we definitely need to look at getting a running back, as well as now maybe another quarterback behind Bo Levi Mitchell there, so that we have some security in case anything happens to Bo there. I mean, it would be a big loss, obviously, as well with Reggie Begelton and Tre Roberson here, but it would definitely be a committee thing for receiver, because I think we still are very deep in receiver, but hopefully we don't get any more injuries. And when Tre Roberson was an interception machine the early part of the season there, other guys stepped up in the secondary there. So yeah, just keep going on. But the recent Calgary Stampeders off-season news here, but I felt it was big enough to warrant a video, and best of luck to everyone who could be moving on or is moving on here. So as I say, if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, just make sure you hit like, subscribe. I definitely do Calgary Sports as a Calgary Sports fan with game recaps and news like this, like trades or signings or players or coaches moving on. And I mean, right now, here we are after the New Year's here. I mean, recapping the Flames, Hitmen, and Roughnecks now, and as I know, I'm still planning on coming back to do Season 3 of my Calgary Stampeders this month when the season gets going there. So, and then obviously I'll do a free agent recap video after the frenzy begins in the CFL, which my understanding is February 10th this year. So we still got 5 weeks to go here, and hopefully we improve ourselves and stay competitive for 2020 here. And we'll see if any new coaches come in, and maybe I'll recap that in the first episode of my Calgary Stampeders this month. So yeah, I do Calgary Sports, personal vlogs, attempt at comedy, and anything else. I share my experiences, like when I'm on the road or at sporting events. So that sounds like everything. Just make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon, and if you've subscribed and you're watching this up to this point, thanks for watching, and go Stamps go. And as I said, I'll see you in the next video here. And also, I recently released an update here to talk about that my winter break is over here, so my upload frequency is definitely going to be back to normal, where mostly everything is going to be uploaded on the weekends, and any game recaps that are due, I'll do that as soon as possible. But most of my uploads are going to happen weekly on the weekends now that eventually New Year's done, and it's time to put everything away and get back to normal here and get back to work there. So I'll see you in the next video.